Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of Drank in Champagne. I am Drank. I am joined as always by Champagne, Mr. Andrew Champagne. How are you doing, my friend?
If you've ordered a large drink for the initial portion of this YouTube show, you are getting rewarded here with a close-up of our beautiful faces that reminds me I really need to shave. So thank you for that one, buddy. It's been a week, to put it mildly. First of all, I'd like to send a special shout out to our friends Travis and Taylor, longtime friends of the Drank and Champagne podcast, for their big news over the weekend. She's going to have to find a new reason for the teardrops on her guitar. Yes, I can ruin any Taylor Swift song. It's something I take great pride in. Yeah, lots going on this week. A whole bunch of stuff converging that will ultimately come out at some point that we're not going to talk about because good vibes on this show. But I want to give a special shout out, Josh, to the two of us because something happened on last week's show that does not happen at all ever. Not only did we have a consensus ticket, not only did we both give out pick four tickets and have enough common ground to where you could play a skinnier ticket with just the horses we both liked. Josh, we both hit that applause button for us. Shout out to us right there. Come on. Wrong button. That's the alarm button.
The soundboard is still not set up. This is literally the only sound I got.
Okay,
I have
fine.
another button. Here, hold on. I have another button on the soundboard. It is unmarked.
Oh, okay.
Do I dare press it?
Yes, you can have the alarm sound check or what's behind door number 2.
And it just an exclamation point came up. So that button is not set up.
Jeez, Josh. I was trying to, sprain my shoulder, patting myself on the back here.
You know what? Okay. Let's not get we won't get too into the weeds here. I remember what happened. So I was setting up so I use what's called a Stream Deck. It's it's just it's a little digital button thing. The problem is that they for the longest time had a library of sounds that you could download and you could use royalty free. So I was re-downloading some stuff, trying to find some files, and I went to their site. They're actually ending they are ending that agreement with whoever they had that was providing the sounds. And so I didn't re-up because technically I think at the end of this month, we can't use them anymore. So I pay for a service, which is where we get and other stuff. So I pay for royalty-free music for that stuff. Well, that's not, I don't know what they call it, but I basically paid it to use this for our YouTube stuff and podcasts. But I'm gonna have to look and see if they have a sound bank. I'm sure they do, but I had those sounds for so long. I haven't had. I have to take a day to actually do it, and the last couple weeks. It's just been bang, bang, bang. Like it's super busy, and it's the end of the summer, right? It's the end of the summer. I play volleyball about 4 days a week now, and I got 2 leagues that are ending, and that's wrapping up, and that's usually when I know summer's coming. This is gonna be our last late pick 4 show for Saratoga. That's ending. Shot 10 will be back before we know it. So we'll have that to come back to, and we won't be handicapping Del Mar anymore. But it's the summer. The summer just kind of went by quick. And Andrew, you know what else it means? End of wedding season. So we have another wedding this weekend.
Hang on. From my kitchen table right here, flowers from the wedding, which we're recording this August 27th. So tomorrow will have been 2 months. My goodness, where did that time go?
Yep. So my wife is the maid or matron of honor in a wedding this weekend. The wedding is on Sunday. Rehearsal dinner's on Saturday. It's local, but there's so much going on that we just got a hotel for the weekend,
Yep.
up there. And so we're gonna go up on Saturday and just I know it's been hectic. There's been stuff all over the house. My wife has gone above and beyond for her cousin, who asked her to be the maid of honor. And so we have a ton of stuff we're gonna have to get over there. We got favors, we got the card box, we got all kinds of stuff. And a bunch of families coming in from out of town. You know the drill, Andrew. You've been there. But this weekend is going to be packed with that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a nice little send off for summer, and we are already talking. My wife and I are already talking about on Monday uh, where we're going to go out to dinner and celebrate the end of of this because my wife obviously is doing all this out of the kindness of her heart. Like her cousin has not asked her for much. But my wife has gone above and beyond and done all this stuff. And Andrew, you know how weddings are. Stuff happens, right? Minor little dramas here and there. And my wife and I, we're very much drama-free people, And we're not the drama-free people that say they're drama-free, but are actually a ton of drama. But like, we're generally easy going, just kind of roll with the punches, and just some people just aren't like that. And so it's been a trying couple of weeks for her, and I know she is very very happy to get that passed. Um, but Andrew, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we have college football back, and I don't know, last week withstanding or notwithstanding, this has just been an absolute just tough Saratoga meet. I on Saturday, I was way wrong on Saturday. I didn't play a cent on Saturday. I actually had some friends over. I had a bunch of plans on Travers Day, so I didn't play a penny, and I couldn't have been, I think, more wrong on some of those races. So thank goodness. Friday, obviously, we hit the late pick four, but yeah, I'm ready to hit the reset button, hit the pause button on some. Well, not really the complete pause button, but outside of Kentucky Downs and maybe some Keeneland, and we're gonna be pretty light, I think, up until Breeders' Cup now. I'll have the occasional play with some stuff in Kentucky, but my focus will change to betting some college football, some NFL. I don't do a ton of volume there, but the last couple of years I've tried to take it a little bit more serious. Not to the point where um I'm still not profitable. I'm close. I'm close to break even. I'm not down a ton, but just doing the basics, right? Trying to make sure you get your bets in early, try to get in the right side of lines, that kind of stuff. And just been starting to track that a little bit more, do that. So gonna be fun that kind of hit slow down a little bit with the horse race and try and reset and see if we can't spike something with Breeders' Cup. But before I guess we get into this, I've kind of mentioned this has been a tough Saratoga meet for me. Andrew, how has it been for you?
So for you, you're happy to see it end. I personally am hoping that everybody just stays in upstate New York another 6 weeks because I'm finally starting to see the ball pretty well. Last week, Wednesday through Sunday, there were 52 races. My top picks won 26 of them. And I should, I suppose, tell the story of what happened on Travers Day. I put this in the bankroll section on Sunday, much to the delight of one Mark Capitan, who was in charge of getting me this piece of apparel. I was 0 for the first four with a couple of agonizing seconds and thirds, and I decided that I needed to change the vibes up. So I went into my closet and I pulled out the polo shirt that had Saratoga blazoned all over it. I changed my shirt. I gave out the boxed try in the fifth that included a 16 to 1 shot in second, and my top picks proceeded to win 8 of the last 9 races. So, whereas Saratoga has been painful for you, it was painful for me for quite a while. Last week was a very, very good week for yours truly, and I'm hoping to keep finishing that up because, look, I missed the first 4 days of the Saratoga meet. I was in Europe. So for me, I'm handicapping with a 36-day total going up against people that have been around for all 40 days. And if I can beat some of those people and post a win percentage that is at or near the top of that list, that's still a pretty successful summer for me. So that's been the goal all along. And it was tough for quite a while when, if there was a photo finish for a solid 10-day stretch, you could assume I was on the wrong end of it because that's exactly what happened. But thankfully, things are getting a little bit better. Days are getting a little bit brighter. And that, I think, is a pretty good segue into the late pick 4 on Friday at Saratoga. We are looking at the sequence beginning in race number 9 on Friday, August 29th. 12 race card. They are trying to card as many races as humanly possible at Saratoga over the last several days. And look, they're filling. So I can't at all complain about that. I should forewarn this for our viewers. If you're expecting Josh and I to have a consensus ticket, don't. Just don't. We had an extensive pre-show meeting where we compared notes, and we could not possibly see the first 2 races in this sequence any differently. And if you think I'm blowing smoke, just wait until we wind up wrapping those first 2 races up so you see where we stand. We start things off with race number 9. This is an optional claiming event. Horses go in 7 furlongs. I sent my ticket in, Josh, and I didn't like myself for it because I don't like relying on horses that are pretty darned inconsistent. And this race revolves around what the hell you do with number 5, Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda, 2 starts ago, set a track record at Aqueduct, going 6.5 furlongs in 1:13.4. They then sort of have to try Graded Stakes Company, and he runs 5th to 6th behind Bookham Dano, Mulligan, and Nakatomi. He comes back in. He's in for a tag of $100,000, which is probably the only way they could run in this race. And I'm looking here, and I see a horse that I think you can safely assume much better with Lasix than without Lasix. This is a horse that when you put Lasix in, he usually winds up responding more often than not. And I think that's what we wound up getting 2 starts ago on June 13th when he ran a hole in the wind and recorded a 102 buyer number. Mind you, that track was very fast. So take that time with a slight grain of salt. But his best race, Josh, beats these pretty handily. I don't think this is a spectacular field for the level. Looking from the rail out, El Grande O hasn't run in almost 7 months. Comedy Town to me hits me as a horse that probably needs the lead in a perfect trip. The only horse in this field that I think could potentially beat Baby Yoda if they channel their best form is the 3 Discreet Mischief, who ran a big race 2 starts ago at Keeneland and then misfired in the slop at Churchill. So I can't get too cute here. I'm singling Baby Yoda because if he doesn't win, I honestly don't know who does, and that'll allow me to spread a little bit deeper in some of the other legs of this sequence. Josh, I've already said it. I've teed you up. We see this race very differently.
Yeah, so I was looking through this race. I'm trying to figure out how things go, and yeah, obviously you look at the morning line favorite, Baby Yoda, 2 to 1 here on the morning line, and I think you said it best: inconsistent. This horse last year kind of took a similar, kind of had a similar type year where, horse, started off in an optional claimer at Backwaduct, and then, went to the True North and won a nice race there, and, kind of regressed in that Vanderbilt. And the horse kind of regressed a couple more starts there. Obviously, they put the horse on the shelf, come back, and the horse fires well fresh again. And then we see the regression once again. And I just don't know if this is the horse that's just has got that one race a year that he runs, and then he just kind of he's like done, and he just kind of regresses. I mean, he's a 7 year old at this point. I didn't see. I liked him in that aqueduct race. I didn't see him breaking a track record that day like him, but yeah, I couldn't put my money on this horse with just how inconsistent this horse is. A horse like Saratoga, obviously, is 4 for 9 at Saratoga, but I think when he goes against tougher company, I think he's been a little bit exposed. I guess you could say though, if you're trying to back him, I mean, who really is in this race? Like, this is probably a
Exactly.
pretty soft field, and these are the types of fields that he's been beaten up on. So, but from a figure standpoint, we have the DRF PPs up here, and he's got a couple races in the 100. Obviously, he's got that freak 114 that he ran, I believe, as a 3 year old. And you kind of cross a line through those kind of exceptional races, and you got a horse that's kind of been running, between 80 and 90, in those. And I think those figures, there's a lot of horses in here that run that. So I'm gonna take a shot against here. I'm just gonna do the old pace play. Right, we're going 7 furlongs at Saratoga. I want the horse that's gonna get in the front and just go. Comedy Town looks to be kind of your inside drawn speed. Interesting about this horse, you kind of look. Obviously, he went back to, or they shipped him to Lone Star, for a $100,000 stakes race, and that track came up sloppy. Horse missed the break, and just, I mean, didn't run right. But I kind of feel like with this horse, this is a horse that has consistently been running, that 90 figure, and that was kind of an aberration, I think, last time out. You got a sloppy track, although a horse has run well on the slop. We'll cross the line through that one. Irad sees fit to ride here. Irad and Safi Joseph over the last year are 21% at Saratoga, when they team up, 27% over the entire year. And I just think that you cross the line through this race. This is a horse that has run well fresh. And so I like Comedy Town as kind of your inside drawn speed in this race. And then I think the horse that's gonna probably be pressing him is gonna be the 6 Light Man. And Light Man has just gotten better and better. As this horse has gotten older. I mean, you kind of look at all his 4 year old races last year, and they were okay, right? He won an open allowance race. He's got a state bred win there. He's got a state bred stakes race. He's kind of been all over the place, but this year, he came back and he ran in that Baby Yoda race that we talked about, and he finished a decent third in that race. But I just think that there's going to be a little bit less pace in this race than some of the races he's been. He's going to have a fast track here. Now, granted, you look at the breeding on this horse, sired by Central Banker, you would think that the slop would be everything that this horse wants. But yeah, I like this horse kind of coming back here. And I think he's going to get a reasonable pace setup here. I think both the 2 and the 6 have a shot to, if they can, outbreak Baby Yoda to maybe try and wire this thing. So I'll go with the 2 and the 6 here, and try and get in the round Baby Yoda.
So you brought up the 6 Light Man, and the last race he ran in was the John Morrissey. And Josh, you remember what I said about photos and how I was on the wrong end of literally every single one of them? The Wine
Wine Steward.
Steward was a
Yep.
really nice price, and that one really hurt me. I have the Lightman third in here. The three would actually be my second choice solely because of the race it ran two back. Lightman makes some sense. He's another horse that I think does his best running with Lasix, but even so, if you're betting on Lightman, you're betting on him turning the tables on Baby Yoda off of finishing 4.5 lengths behind that one 2 starts ago. Not impossible, but tough. I would need a little bit more of a price than I think we're likely to get.
All right, let's move on to race 10 in this race, or in this sequence. And we'll be going 1.125 miles on the dirt here. We have state bred allowance race for fillies and mares 3 years old and up. And Andrew, this race has got 10 horses in it. You and I have 8 of them covered, and none of them in common.
You can't make this stuff up. I mean, you're looking at Josh's picks if you're watching us on YouTube. And by the way, if you are watching us on YouTube, go on down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Really helps us out. You can see his A's and B's up at the top there. He's got the 1 and the 5 as A's and the 6 and the 7 as B's here. My personal thinking, Josh, though, I think this race falls apart. I think there is a lot of, to steal a phrase from our friend Chase Sessoms, inexpensive velocity. And DRF does agree with that. It shows a fast pace over on the Timeform pace projector. With that in mind, I've got 2 A's and 2 B's myself, and the 2 A's are both horses that are going to close. My top pick is number 3, Purpose. Purpose was left with too much to do last time out in a race that was very, very slow up front. You look at the fractions, you see 49 and 1 to the half, 114 and 3 for 6 furlongs. They were not coming back on that particular occasion. The race 2 back was a little bit better, wound up running 4th behind a pretty nice horse in Walk With Me. Shout out to my friend, the owner of that horse, the Wizard, Michael Kipnis, good guy. And I think Purpose is going to get a much better setup in this spot than he's gotten in his last couple of outings. Because looking from the rail, Rodeo Star, the one's going to go. Capital Gal is going to sit very close. I think Grace and Grit has to go. Kara's Dreamweaver's got a little bit of tactical speed. Number 8, Cha Cha Ren has some tactical speed. But the key here is number 9, Higher Force, and number 10, Second Chance. Both, I think, want to go early. And from that far outside post, I think you're going to wind up seeing either Romero Mirage on Higher Force or Christopher Elliott on Second Chance quarter horse him out of the gate a little bit. And with that in mind, I think we're going to see a legitimate pace. So I want closers. Purpose is my top choice. My second choice is number 2, Margot Treasure, who stretches out to 2 turns. I'm not 100% sure that she's a 2-turn horse. You see a couple races on synthetic. It's not like they're awful. She does have a couple of decent races going shorter up here in New York. And I do think that the pedigree at least indicates 2 turns may be something she can handle. She's by Vino Rosso out of an overanalyzed mare. This is a case where there's distance, top and bottom, at least in the pedigree. The question is, if she was a distance horse, why hasn't she been tried at this distance before today? That's a valid question, but I can stomach that given the price we're likely to get on Margot Treasure. She's 6-1 on the morning line. I think she's going to drift up for your favorite ownership group of all time, Saratoga Stable. My B's are number 4, Capital Gal, who ran okay last time out, I guess, running second, beaten 2 1/4 lengths. Timeform was kinder to this race than the clock was. They went 1.125 miles and 154 and 3 that day. Timeform, though, shows a reasonably fast pace. I'm going to need to dive into that a little bit more. I'm going to be honest. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I trust Craig Milkowski and his people there, so it's entirely possible that I'm seeing things incorrectly. Capital Gal, I suppose, makes some sense, but I do think is going to be a hair over bet. My bonkers horse, Josh. I'm looking at this and I'm going, why am I using this horse? Why am I using number 8, Cha Cha Ren, who goes out for the barn of Lolita Shivmangle, who is a smooth 1 for 54 on the 2025 calendar year? Well, last year, she goes wire to wire going a mile at Aqueduct, and the race before that, wasn't terrible either. She was fourth beaten 5 lengths that day in a field of 8. This is her second start off of a pretty long layoff. I think you can argue she absolutely needed the race last time out. Yes, it was a claimer and she's going into an allowance race, but it's an allowance race for New York breds. So it's a restricted event. It might be a class jump, but it's not a huge one. And I do think there's at least a chance that she's sitting on an improved effort at second asking. And if she winds up winning at a bonkers price, given the race she ran two back, which was pretty good, and I don't have her on the ticket, I'm going to be kicking myself. I will be funneling most of my action through Margot Treasure and Purpose as closers in what I think is a race full of speed, but I'll have a couple of backup tickets with the last two in there as well. Josh, tell me why I'm wrong.
No, I think that you see the race similar to the way I do. You think that there's a fast pace. I will say that I agree with you that there's a fast pace. However, Josh handicapping, when I see that the two other big pace pressures are from the 9 and 10 post in this race, I kind of think the one is your de facto speed to speed, going to be your leader, I think, in this race, or at least going to have the easiest time of the speed horses in this race. And so I had to include that horse based off of the fact that this horse is on the rail. The other speeds are going to be coming from way outside, and like you said, like hey, they're going to have to quarter horse to get up there. I think, and you're getting 15 to 1 on the morning line for inside drawn speed. Manny Franco has been riding absolutely lights out the last like week and a half. And like I haven't been on the right side of him probably all meet. So, maybe this is me just trying to cool Manny Franco off. I don't know. But I actually really like Rodeo Star in this spot. Like inside drawn speed, and I think that the last couple races have looked pretty good. Obviously, going back to Aqueduct, the first race, I don't know what happened in that allowance race. This is a horse that's shown speed a ton, and just kind of absolutely missed the break in that one. So you kind of crossed the line through that race two back, but this horse has been pretty consistent in the mid 80s on time form, and yeah, I don't know. Looking at this race and looking at the dirt form, I don't think you need to run much faster than probably about a 90 to 92 to win this race. So I do think Rodeo Star, is right there. And obviously this is a 3-year-old filly still. So, there's always a little bit of room for improvement in those types of horses. So I like the one Rodeo Star in this spot. You did mention to me that I was betting turf horses.
Yeah.
And the 5 Grace and Grit, I basically like for the same reason that you liked a couple of other horses in this spot. Now, you look at the turf races, and this is a horse that's been on the front end or close to the front in a lot of these turf races. But you kind of look at the dirt races, and this has been a horse that has wanted to track more. So probably just a horse that's doesn't show as much speed on the dirt as she does on the turf. Gets Joel Rosario aboard. So I definitely think that this horse is going to track, especially like I said, if you really think the 9 and 10 are going to send, I think that that's going to set up nicely for this 5, who's going to just sit that garden trip in that second kind of flight of horses. And I think that Joel Rosario is going to have this horse in a good spot. And if this horse runs back to any of their turf races, I think that this horse is going to be very, very tough to beat. So the 1 and the 5 are my 2 A's in this spot. My B's are 2 other turf horses, as you'd like to mention. I think the 7 Kara's Dreamweaver at least has some proven form on the dirt. Broke her maiden on the dirt back at Aqueduct earlier this year, and has run some nice figures, including a 94 about 5 or 6 starts back, which kind of puts her in basically having probably the best time form dirt figure in the field. So, this is another horse that's kind of dropping from allowance, coming into into or no, staying in the allowance company. Sorry, and yeah, I just think that this is a horse that has consistently run pretty decently, and this is another horse that's going to want to be sitting off the pace. So I think, like I said, if you think this falls apart, I think the 7 as well as the 6 both kind of stand to kind of sit nice off that pace. And I actually really like the 6, having been claimed by Mr. Abreu, Jorge Abreu here. Gets Ricky Santana to stay aboard, and obviously rode this horse last time out, and just wasn't a good effort. And so maybe Jorge Abreu sees something that thinks that this horse needs to go on the dirt, but. Jorge Abreu is actually 2 for 3 when he starts horses off of a quick turnaround like this. So I'm guessing that he sees something with this horse, thinks that this horse is going to run better on the dirt. And Ricky might agree with him because Ricky's staying aboard here, and like I said, Ricky's been having a heck of a meet here at Saratoga. So I've had him on a ton of my tickets whenever I can. So. I'm 4 wide here. We don't have any horses in common. I got the 1 and the 5 as A's. I got the 6 and 7 as B's.
So the one thing I do want to point out with the 6 boxed wine, this is a case where the connections tell a story. Not the trainer, Jorge Abreu, but the owner. Flying Peace Stable is actively trying to make a run at the owner's title. That, I think, tells the story as to why this horse is coming back on 14 days rest so that it can run once here at Saratoga and potentially give Flying Peace Stable a shot at a win that, to be honest, I can't see it with this horse. This is a horse that I used underneath a couple of times earlier this year. The race 2 back, I believe. I liked her a little bit that day, but I can't see it with boxed wine at all, based off of the races this one's been running since coming back off of the layoff. Even on turf, I don't even think she's the best turf horse in the field. I think the best turf horse in the field is the 5. So I've just put boxed wine into the winner's circle. Flying Peace Stable.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, I do what I can, Josh. All for you. All because I love you.
All right, race 11. We got a mile stakes race here on the inner turf for 4-year-old and up. Andrew, how did you see this one?
This race is the perfect sting, named after a very, very good turf distaffer from about 20 years ago. Yes, folks, it was about 20 years ago she ran. We're that old. I have 2 A's and 2 B's. And Josh, we agree on one of the A's, and it's the bigger priced A. But my top selection is going to be Dynamic Pricing, horse number 5. 2 starts ago, won the Just a Game over this turf course, albeit a yielding turf course. Then came back, ran 3rd in the Diana behind Excellent Truth and She Feels Pretty. She Feels Pretty came right back out of that race to win the EP Taylor up at Woodbine. If she's ready to run, this race is for second money. I think Dynamic Pricing is going to be pretty darn tough in this particular spot. But I'm going to include what hit me as the Joshiest horse of the sequence that could very well be the speed of the speed. And that's number 2, Rakia, who I liked a lot back at Del Mar in the Goldacova. She went wire to wire that day at a bit more than 5-1. I was at Pleasanton that day. I was part of their simulcast feed, and I was watching that with their then director of racing operations. And I went, I think this horse could get loose on the lead. And boom, that's exactly what happened. They ran this horse back in the Pegasus filly and mare turf, finished 5th, beaten 5 lengths by Be Your Best. There's no shame in that. They go to the sidelines for a bit, and she runs a clunker in the Just a Game, in the Bogey, the Bogey. I thought it was the Just a Game because Dynamic Pricing won both of those races. She did set a pretty fast pace that day beneath Frankie Dettori. Flavian Pratt will be aboard on this particular occasion for trainer Todd Pletcher, and I think she is the controlling speed. 2 A's for me are the 2 and the 5. I will, however, be using 2 B's as well. Number 4, a Lilac Rolla, is interesting to me. She came over after a layoff of almost a year, didn't run a jump in the Just a Game. If you look back at her European form, though, you see names like Porta Fortuna. and she ran a good third behind that one at Newmarket back in 2024. Her best is very good, and I think there's a chance she needed the last out effort and may prefer things a bit firmer than she got on that particular occasion. I'll also be using number 6 Proctor Street, who could not have possibly looked better visually last time out, beating Optional Claiming Company. She looked a lot like her mom, Proctor's Ledge, who won a couple of big races at Saratoga back in her day. You see a Rod Ortiz Jr. sticking around when he likely had several options. That's appealing to me. This is a class test. We don't necessarily know for sure if she's the same horse without Lasix. The races she's run without Lasix, the only one actually, is the Winter Memories 3 starts back. She was 5th beaten 2 1/4 that day by a couple of horses that also show up in this spot. So I do think she's the one that may well wind up being the wise guy horse, and maybe will be a little bit overbet based on that. But I will have some tickets that have her on them. A's for me are Rakia and Dynamic Pricing. A Lilac Roll and Proctor Street, I'll throw in a little.
That's funny. Proctor's Ledge was actually when I started betting, was that 2018 Derby, which is the day that Proctor's Ledge won the Distaff Turf Mile, and that was one of the winners I had on that day. I think she won at like 7-2 or something. I think somewhere it was an okay-ish price if I remember correctly. But
it's no Lord Miles at 59-1, but it'll do.
It's no Funny Duck, which was my that was the breakout. This is easy. Oh, she was almost 7-1. She was 6.8 to 1. But anyways, you already mentioned the two horses I like in this race. My top pick obviously is the joshiest horse of the sequence in Rakia. Inner turf at Saratoga. I'm always having the speed. I don't care when, where, how. If it's a rabbit, if it's not a rabbit, I'm using it. Rakia is going to be running this race. Has got some back races, I think, that line up okay with this field. My problem with dynamic pricing is why. Like, this is a grade 1 winning horse. Why are we running in such a soft spot?
I've got an idea, and it's once again the connections. Chad Brown is ahead in the race for the trainer's title. It's not a cinch. And we saw a couple of years ago, Linda Rice make up a 4 or 5 win gap in the last couple of days. Chad Brown might say that, oh, it's the trainer's title. You don't get anything for winning the trainer's title, whatever. He's a Saratoga County guy. He wants the Saratoga trainer title. And dynamic pricing does fit in here. And to be fair, yes, it's a listed stakes race. This looks a lot more like a grade 2 or a grade 3 than a listed stakes race.
I'm just saying he could have shipped this horse down to Kentucky Downs and made a couple million instead.
Maybe he's already got horses down there.
Yeah, I don't know. It just smells funny to me. So I got the fade on dynamic pricing. Proctor Street is the other horse I like in the spot. This is actually a horse that has moved forward in every single one of her races. I love the fact that IRAD stays aboard here. Obviously won very impressively last time out. Coming back here, very similar run style to dynamic pricing. And if you look at the pace figures, looks very, very similar to dynamic pricing. So I like Proctor Street in this spot. I'll be using the Josh Kia. Rakia here for Flavian Pratt and Todd Pletcher. See if we can get maybe a wire-to-wire winner.
Hey, I'm just happy we have horses in common, man.
Race 12, we got a 1:16 turf maiden claimer. And my top pick in this race is going to be the 2 Key Actress, who happens to be your morning line favorite, albeit a lukewarm favorite. The one channel check is actually 7-2, so not that far behind. And this is just a horse that I feel like it has been forwardly placed in the three for last starts, um, and I think maybe just hasn't been able to kind of get there. But this is a horse that you've seen a little bit of improvement from that first turf start, um, and it's just kind of moved forward really well in that second start. Maybe took a slight step back speed figure wise, but improved at least by finishing second in that race. Albeit, like I said, this horse has kind of just been um, running, kind of in place and not really passing horses. However, I think there's a good shot that maybe she just gets the lead in this race and won't have to pass any horses because she's going to be on the front end. JJ is going to be riding this horse for the fourth straight time. And yeah, I like the fact that JJ's staying aboard here. And I just think that maybe this is the horse that they need to put on the front end, and might get a good chance to be able to do it, and maybe be able to kind of hold off any other horses kind of coming back. But if not, I do like the 6 horse Magnum's Microburst, uh, and this is a horse that 3 back ran a 108 time form figure, which is the fastest figure in the field, and in that race, she set some moderate fractions and ended up finishing fourth behind Key Actress in there. But came back, and the last 2 races, the horse has been a little. I don't know, 2 back. The horses rank a little bit earlier, finally settled, but kind of settled off the pace. And then last time out with Luis Saez aboard, just kind of. I don't know if the plan was to take the horse back the entire way or what, but I think this is a horse that needs to be forwardly placed. So Jose Gomez is getting the board, and I'm hoping that he's going to get this horse out and forward, kind of like he did back at Aqueduct 4 starts back. So I'm going to take another shot with Magnum's Microburst at a decent shot, this decent price at 12-1. But the 2 Key Actress will be my top pick in this spot.
Yeah, Key Actress is very logical. I'm too deep in here, and she's my second choice. The only thing that gives me a little bit of pause is I don't think she's going to be alone on the front end. There's some other speed in here. Bourbon Milk Punch is going to want to be forward. Caviar Breakfast is going to want to be forward. And I think you're going to see some more speed from your 6 Magnum's Microburst, especially with Jose Gomez getting back aboard. He's a very good gate rider. And who knows, maybe number 8 Victoriously is going to show some speed with Jose Lizcano aboard. I wouldn't be shocked. I do think there's going to be a legitimate pace signed on. And with that, my top pick is the 1 Channel Check. Channel Check does take a drop in class on paper, and that might seem a little bit concerning. But I do think that you're going to wind up seeing a scenario where she's enabled to run the best race that she's ever run. You see a 98 time form figure last time out. That's competitive. She did wind up passing a couple of horses that day. She goes second off of a brief layoff in this spot for a trainer that, again, is trying to win the trainer's title. So, yes, this horse drops into what's technically a maiden claimer, but it's a $100,000 maiden claiming event with a purse of $72,000. This is a case where if you've got a horse that you think is worth $100,000, you're okay potentially losing the horse because you're going to wind up with the winner's share of a purse, ideally. So I'm going to take Channel Check on top with Key Actress in second. I'm going to give you a bonkers horse to potentially use underneath. I do not think this horse could potentially win, but I do think number 3 Solo Vincere, I really hope I'm saying that correctly, isn't without a total shot here. They debuted this horse going a mile on turf at Fairgrounds, and this horse got bet that day. She was a little under 10-1. They brought her back at Saratoga going 6.5 on the dirt. I think she needed a race that particular occasion. There's a couple of workouts that indicate she's bounced out of that one pretty well. Again, I'm not saying she wins, but I wouldn't be shocked if she runs third or fourth at a big price.
Anything else on this card?
I mean, I'm looking at the rest of the card later tonight, and we'll have that posted on andrewchampagne.com either Wednesday night or Thursday morning. I thought this was a pretty good late pick four sequence because, again, I think Baby Yoda is absolutely the horse to beat in race number 9. I think you can use the sequence to potentially extract some value out of that one because I don't think there's going to be an overwhelming favorite the rest of the sequence. Dynamic pricing is 9 to 5 on the morning line. I think there's a chance she drifts up. And I think you're going to see a couple of very wide open races, especially race number 10, which I think we illustrated because we're 8 deep with nothing in common. And in race number 12, again, with a 2-turn turf race for maiden claimers. So that's anything can happen that particular race. If you wind up with a strong opinion and you're right, you're going to get paid.
All right, and Andrew, we got your ticket up here. You have a $16 play with the singling the 5 in leg 1 with 2, 3, 4, 8 with 2, 4, 5, 6 with 1, 2. And me, I decided to just look at all the horses you use and don't use them. I am 2, 6 with 1, 5, 6, 7 with 2, 6 with 2, 6 for a $16 play there. And the old consensus ticket is XX262.
You can play a double. And I got to tell you, given the field size in the 12th without a convincing favorite, double's not a bad bet there, Josh.
What you got going on this weekend, Andrew?
Oh, this weekend is the last weekend of Saratoga. It's also going to be a lot in the way of preparations for a pretty big fantasy football draft that I've got coming up early next week. That's always a lot of fun. Nobody likes hearing about other people's fantasy football teams, so I won't bore you with how I won the league last year and how I've won it 3 times in the last 6 seasons and am prepared to go 4 for 7. But looking forward to that. That's always a good time. And just trying to make some money at Saratoga before the meet winds up drawing to a close for 2025. It's a little bit saddening that I wasn't able to get there this summer, but I think I had some pretty good reasons for that, Josh.
Yeah, I had my first fantasy football draft tonight. Unfortunately, it was also playoffs for my volleyball league, so I was literally outside drafting, and I had to give my phone to one of my friends' boyfriends who was there, and be like, "Hey, like I queued up some guys, like just use your best judgment because I had to go play." But it's a and like I said, we won't talk too much, but what's fun about this league is it's a guillotine league. Uh,
Oh,
so if you guys don't know what that is, basically at the end of every week, the low score gets their entire team dropped on waivers, and you're eliminated. And I've played in this league for the last 3 years. The first year, the guy who I was talking to him about like doing this league, he's like, "Oh, I'm totally in." He was so geeked, so excited to get this thing going, and he gets it in, and he loses week 1. So he shout out to my buddy Steven for that. But we got 15 guys or 15 people. I don't know if they're all guys, but 15 people in 15 team league for this year's guillotine. And in order to avoid the embarrassing first week elimination, the first elimination is going to be week 2 with the lowest combined score in the first 2 weeks, and then or I don't know if it's the lowest or if it's the lowest 2 scores, but either way, we're gonna go, and after that it's gonna be normal. But last year, I think I finished second last year if I remember correctly. So, and I had a good run last year, or maybe I won. I don't even remember, but. Yeah, and then I got 2 more drafts. I got the longest draft I've been doing. I think I've been doing for about 15 years or so, I have to think. And a couple years ago, I got my brother involved in the league, which is fun because it's just something my brother and I can talk about. And then I got another league that I run with. I play with somebody. So three is usually my max. So that's what I'll be doing. But yeah, football's back, and yeah, we'll have some more we'll have some more sports talk as we get deeper and deeper into the fall, I'm sure. But that was a delayed start on that.
It was just a
That's
dramatic pause before we get to the film noir closing sequence.
well, I hit the button and it just didn't do anything. It just like froze. Who knows? But that's gonna do it for us here on Drank and Champagne. Check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. He is at Andrew Champagne. You can find him at andrewchampagne.com. Check out DRF, chat.drf.com for their fun new chat bot. Mess around with it. Give them some feedback on what you think on that. And yeah, this week, Thursday, we'll be live streaming without the pretty one, Caleb. And instead, we're going to get Louis Rabeau from Louisville Radio, and he's going to be on with us talking some Kentucky Downs, talking some Del Mar, and in the Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga Sunday. So should be a fun stream. Check us out at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Good luck, everybody. Let's make some money.